Coffee Break with Ricky and Richard.
Hello, my friends.
And in today's episode, we're gonna talk about las drogas, drugs in music. It's not a tutorial or something like that.
Disclaimer: don't do them.
Yeah, right. We have to start off with saying, of course, drugs are bad and everything, but you can't deny the fact that drugs and music, they just go together.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Can't deny that.
yeah. So for example, we talked about the Beatles, and I mean, the Beatles are your icons, one of them for sure. And you told me that maybe the Beatles took LSD, the music got better, so why not try that route, right?
Yeah, that was one of my escapades, as you could say. It was back in the apprenticeship days. I met a lady there who went to Goa parties.
Right.
Yeah, I think that doesn't need much explaining there.
It's very obvious. Yeah.
And the thought process really, back in the day, Beatles make good music, Beatles took LSD, so if I take LSD, I'll make good music too.
Let's give it a try.
Yeah, it can't go wrong, can it? But I think with LSD especially, you also have like a very cultural aspect of the 60s when it came out. It really did change quite a bit. I don't know, and I don't think music would have been that experimental without it, because they really did try and recreate the feeling of a trip. I think one of the big problems is with psychedelic substances like that is that most people think, oh, if I take it or if Ricky takes it, he'll feel like a raccoon. Which is a great mascot, by the way, Ricky Raccoon.
True.
But it's more nuanced. It's more a personal experience as well. It basically seems to take away filters in your mind, because we are really good as people putting things into little boxes. That's a tree, that's a horse, that's Ricky Raccoon, whatever.
True.
I think what that substance certainly did for me was take away those filters and then actually look at something like a plant or like listen to music and really get into it. It's failing for words here, but
maybe you can talk about the first time that basically you earned kind of an experience from using drugs that you can use into making music differently. Maybe can you remember a certain point?
Well, I think if we jump now to cannabis, for instance, I feel like cannabis always helped me kind of just forget the world around me and just be in the music, like the classic stoner idea. Man, I'm feeling it, dude.
Right.
So that certainly that did help in that regards. Of course, I forgot all the riffs the next day, but
classic.
But with LSD, I think it's more of a soundscape thing. It's hard to put in words, really. It's been a long time as well, to be honest. I'm a clean man now. Yes. Certainly.
So there wasn't a song basically that maybe only exists because you were taking substances or something.
Well, there were like jams I would do the next day, however, where I'd loop and I'd be still kind of hazy, and I just play, and then I record that. But it really didn't birth, say, a song, because I feel like when you're under the influence, you're not really that productive. Maybe you are, Ricky. We haven't come to you yet, but for me, it was always it's a good question, actually.
Yeah.
For me, it was more like just playing and just trying things out. I think like mini bits of song ideas did arise while I was jamming under the influence, but there was never a song, I believe, that was completely based upon an experience.
And would you say that you need basically drugs from time to time to maybe get a step further in your music world or capabilities, or which I know it's a very tough question, I guess, because the answer, of course, should always be no. Right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't really count on your drug usage to get creative, but still, do you have the feeling that sometimes you need it to get to a certain level of creativity, or?
I think to a certain degree, I would have to say yes. To a certain degree, I would have to say yes.
Yeah.
Mainly because it kind of, especially the cannabis, it kind of lets me forget about all the other thoughts and just focus on the music.
Right.
Sort of. Also, listening to music, of course, is another big aspect.
That's great.
That is another big aspect.
Listening to music while you're high on weed is a totally different level.
Yeah. So I guess like you said, the answer should be no. But who am I fooling?
because I mean, it's such a strange thing, even now, that weed and a lot of other drugs are basically legal in other countries. It's still kind of weird to talk about the work process as a musician, about when it's influenced by drugs, I guess, because you don't want to say it, but to tell the full story, sometimes you need to adjust it and say, yes, this is a product of drugs, So it's
nice to say.
I'm not even I don't even trying to lie to you. It is what it is, right?
Yeah, I think we also have to kind of maybe look at the other side of the spectrum as well. In that if you get too deep into it, if you rely too much, then it's a problem. It's a problem. I think that's certainly something one has to keep in mind. And I've been really lucky because, like, we talked about Nirvana before, right? And I never ever got into contact with harder drugs like heroin, for instance. Because I mean, I'm a bit susceptible to addiction, I'm pretty sure. So that could have been the end of me.
True.
So that was lucky for sure. I think I don't know if I can say I got it under control, but it's all right. It's all right. I'm a functioning human being. But what about you, Ricky? I know, but I think you probably should talk about it. I remember a song called Pleasure Machine Number 9, which had multiple meanings. But tell me about your experience musically with substances.
I think to just say the obvious thing, I think we both don't rely on drugs to make music. I think that's very important. I think. And I think you should, and it's not even only about drugs, but I think you should, certain things in life you need to experience in a quite limited way.
Balance.
You should have a balance. And basically, if you put on your running shoes and you're not even running, why bother? Meaning that if you take something just because you want to take it, it's obviously the wrong path to go by, I guess. I think you should always say to yourself, okay, I'm taking this because I want to feel or I want to hear this and that, or I don't know how to put it.
It's like a ritual, Ricky. I mean, because substances have been with human beings for eons. And I mean, if you go to South America, the ayahuasca, the shamans will take you out in the forest, and there'll be a whole thing about it. But you're saying take it more, how do you say, not just taking it mindlessly, basically. Don't take it mindlessly.
It should always be a journey, because a journey contains the idea of you're going back, right? A journey is you go out there, which could be like the trip, but you want to come home. You don't want to stay there, because that's the point in life where there is no balance, right? But if you want to go home, it's not the safest thing or a kind of safe technique, but it should always be like that. I think you need to come back home, and coming back home and being clean should be the goal always. But I mean, the biggest impact that weed and in this case edibles had on me was that I was basically taking a cookie from a good friend of mine, and when I went home, literally with the bus, I was listening to music, and I was listening to the song. Oh shit! I think it was it was "Love Kills" by Freddie Mercury, and it wasn't even an experience about singing at that time, but the guitar solo in it was like cutting. It was like a cutting knife. It was like the guitar sound was like cutting the air, basically. And when I've heard that, basically when I've heard the symbolism behind it, I figured, all right, from this point on, I only record the guitar in that kind of way.
All right.
So even when it comes to consuming drugs, at that point, I wasn't thinking like, oh, from this point on, I will always take drugs to get to that level. No, I was more thinking of like, I can, like you said, maybe without certain filters, from now on, from this point on, I will record the solo like I experienced the solo when I was intoxicated.
The coming home part, like you bring it with you.
Yeah, because when I've heard it, I wanted to come home. I've wanted to go back. I've wanted to be clear and clean again in my head, right? But that was a very, very mysterious experience, because even if I'm not, right now I'm not on anything, I still can channel this kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Right? And my ears, they know where to go. So I basically don't need drugs to go there. But due to the drugs,
it opened the door.
Yes, it opened the door. Yeah. That was like my first experience with edibles, drugs, and music. And I mean, you could still argue that maybe in 5 years or in 7 more years, I would have come to the same conclusion without taking drugs, right? But it happened. It is what it is. I can't change that, right?
I mean, we have been talking high and mighty about the idea of you must always know what you're doing and stuff. But I mean, I guess with us, it started, well, for me at least, it started like it was the thing to do, kind of stupid. We said, like with the Beatles talk, we just said. But after a while, when you get, you realize that this is a bit more than just, let's take some stuff. So now that's a good philosophy on that, to be able to come home and to take the experience or whatever with you back home.
You try to, on a trip, you try to take what you need, but you always go home with the feeling of it's the things that you took, they are enough. Basically, you take what you need, but you don't need the trip, right? You don't need the experience. You only need the things that you had in the experience.